Marie Curie, The Radiance of My Life. Let me take you back to Warsaw, 1867. The city was alive with whispers of revolution, but for me, Maria Skłodowska, it was a place of both wonder and sorrow. I was the youngest of 5 children, born to parents who were teachers. My father, Władysław, taught mathematics and physics, and my mother, Bronisława, ran a boarding school for girls. They were my first teachers, instilling in me a love for learning that would shape my entire life. But life in Russian-occupied Poland was not kind to dreamers. My mother died of tuberculosis when I was 10, leaving a void that nothing could fill. My father, though loving, struggled to support our family under the oppressive Russian regime. I learned early that life was fragile, and if I wanted to leave my mark on the world, I couldn't waste a single moment. I devoured books on science, literature, and history. I was particularly drawn to physics and chemistry, subjects that seemed to hold the keys to the universe's mysteries. But in Poland, women were not allowed to attend university. So, my sister Bronisława and I made a pact. We would take turns supporting each other's education. She would go to Paris first to study medicine, and I would work as a governess to fund her studies. Then she would return the favor. For 5 long years, I taught the children of wealthy families, sending every franc I could spare to Bronisława. It was exhausting work, but I clung to my dream. In the evenings, after my duties were done, I would sneak into the library of the family I worked for and lose myself in books. I also joined the Flying University, a clandestine educational movement for women. We met in secret, sharing knowledge and ideas, defying the Russian authorities who sought to keep us ignorant. In 1891, my turn finally came. I boarded a train to Paris with little more than a suitcase and a heart full of hope. The Sorbonne, one of the most prestigious universities in the world, was about to become my new home. Paris was a revelation. The city buzzed with ideas, with art, with science. I threw myself into my studies, living in a tiny attic near the university. I survived on bread, tea, and sheer determination. There were nights when I was so cold, I piled all my clothes onto my bed just to keep warm. But I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I was free to learn. I earned my degree in physics in 1893, ranking first in my class. A year later, I earned another degree in mathematics, ranking second. But my true education began when I met Pierre Curie, a brilliant physicist who shared my passion for the mysteries of the natural world. He was quiet, thoughtful, and utterly devoted to science. We married in 1895, not with a grand ceremony, but with a simple exchange of vows and bicycles. Yes, we celebrated our honeymoon by riding bicycles through the French countryside. It was perfect. Pierre and I were partners in every sense. We worked side by side in a cramped, drafty shed that served as our laboratory. It was there, in that humble space, that we would change the world. In 1896, Henri Becquerel discovered that uranium salts emitted rays that could penetrate solid matter. This phenomenon was called radioactivity, though no one yet understood what it was or where it came from. I was fascinated. What if there were other elements that behaved this way? What if radioactivity was the key to unlocking the secrets of the atom? I decided to make this my life's work. Using an instrument Pierre and his brother had invented, the electrometer, I began testing every known element for signs of radioactivity. I worked tirelessly, often forgetting to eat or sleep. And then, one day, I found something astonishing. Thorium was also radioactive. But that wasn't all. The mineral pitchblende, which contained uranium, was far more radioactive than uranium itself. That could only mean one thing. There was something else in pitchblende, something unknown, something new. Pierre was so intrigued by my findings that he set aside his own work to join me. Together we ground, dissolved, and filtered tons of pitchblende, searching for the source of this extraordinary energy. It was grueling work, but we were driven by a shared conviction. We were on the verge of something revolutionary. In July 1898, we announced the discovery of polonium, named in honor of my beloved Poland. 5 months later, we discovered radium, from the Latin word for ray. These elements were hundreds of times more radioactive than uranium. The scientific world was stunned. We had opened a door to a new era of physics and chemistry. But our work was far from over. Isolating pure radium took another 4 years of painstaking labor. In 1902, we finally succeeded, isolating 1/10 of a gram of radium chloride from a ton of pitchblende. It was a triumph, but it came at a cost. Our hands were burned and scarred from handling radioactive materials, and we were often exhausted. We didn't know it then, but the very thing that made radium so extraordinary would also take a toll on our health. In 1903, we were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, sharing the honor with Henri Becquerel. I was the first woman to ever receive a Nobel Prize. But the road to that moment was not easy. The Nobel Committee initially intended to award the prize only to Pierre and Becquerel. It was Pierre who insisted that I be included, arguing that the discovery of radioactivity was as much my work as his. Even then, I was asked not to speak at the ceremony, as some believed a woman's place was not on the stage. I refused to be silenced. 3 years later, tragedy struck. Pierre was killed in a tragic accident, struck by a horse-drawn carriage on a rainy street in Paris. I was devastated. He was my partner, my love, my greatest collaborator. How could I go on without him? But I did. For Pierre, for our daughters Irène and Ève, and for science itself. After Pierre's death, I was offered his professorship at the Sorbonne. I became the first woman to teach there, and I poured everything I had into my work. In 1911, I was awarded a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for my work isolating radium and studying its properties. No one had ever won 2 Nobel Prizes before. To this day, only a handful of people have matched that achievement. But even as the world celebrated me, I faced scrutiny and criticism. As a woman in a male-dominated field, I was often dismissed or belittled. During the Nobel Prize ceremonies, I was asked not to speak, because some believed a woman's place was not on the stage. I refused. I had earned my place, and I would not be silenced. When World War I broke out in 1914, I saw an opportunity to use my knowledge for a greater purpose. I organized mobile X-ray units, known as little Curies, to treat wounded soldiers on the front lines. These units, equipped with X-ray machines powered by radium, saved countless lives by helping doctors locate bullets and shrapnel in soldiers' bodies. I trained over 150 women to operate these units, and I even drove one of the vans myself. It was dangerous work, but I believed in the power of science to heal. After the war, I founded the Radium Institute in Paris, which became a leading center for cancer treatment and research. I was determined to ensure that radium, the element I had discovered, would be used to save lives, not just advance scientific knowledge. I died on July 4, 1934, at the age of 66. My body was laid to rest next to Pierre's, but my work did not end with me. My daughter Irene, who had worked by my side in the laboratory, went on to win her own Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1935, alongside her husband Frédéric Joliot-Curie. Together they discovered artificial radioactivity, proving that radioactivity could be induced in stable elements. It was a discovery that built on my work and opened new doors in medicine and energy. Today, my notebooks, my clothes, even my cookbooks are still radioactive. They are stored in lead-lined boxes, a testament to the power of the elements I uncovered. But they are also a reminder of the curiosity and determination that drove me. I was not a genius, not in the way the world often defines it. I was simply a woman who refused to accept limits. Limits on what I could achieve. Limits on what a woman could do. Limits on what the world could be. So, my friend, the next time you see the glow of a watch dial in the dark, or hear about a cancer patient receiving radiation therapy, remember, that light, that hope, began in a drafty shed in Paris with two people who dared to ask, what if? And that, I think, is the greatest legacy of all.
Thank you for watching. While the goal of the Heroes account is to share the stories of the heroes from our past and what we imagine to be their voice and words, we don't know exactly what they said at the time. We strive to imagine history from their perspective. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn about other amazing heroes that made the world what it is today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Who should we uncover next? Did we miss an important fact? Did we get something wrong? Do you know more about today's hero that you would like to share? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep the flame of curiosity alive.